Welcome, everybody. My name is Scott Fardulis. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us today. We are going to be talking specifically about the power, the use, and the functionality of our DAC longevity healthcare plans. Many of you have been asking for some training, some leadership, some guidance, some deeper dive looking into the power of these healthcare plans and why, in fact, they're so timely during this state that we're all living in, which is awesome, by the way. I think it's neat that we're able to come together through technology. Technology, no doubt, is our way forward. Look at this. I mean, look at all the cameras that are on. We are up close and personal. You couldn't do this in person if you wanted to. Getting this close to see everybody face to face and eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly. I hope you've got, one of your favorite beverages in front of you right now, and that you've got a notepad in front of you, a good pen that works, and you're welcome to write down anything you can. If you've got questions along the way, feel free to make comments. Go to your chat bar. It's located at the bottom of your screen. If somebody wants to kind of take notes and scribe and highlight and just kind of type in some things that are key things for people to be thinking about that were expressed, feel free to do that. If you've got a question, type that into the chat bar. And rather than having a lot of people attempting to talk over each other later on, I'll go through the chat bar. We'll answer as many questions as we can for now. May or may not get to all of them on this recorded session, but we certainly will address them on more upcoming future calls. This is the first of several and many to come on this hot topic. So what we're going to do right now that I've set the stage is I'm going to do a screen share, and I'm going to walk you through a PowerPoint presentation that nobody's ever seen before, and you're going to see it for the first time. And really what I'm doing here is I'm addressing the question, hey Scott, how are you being effective now or just period in these times, talking to individuals or talking to groups, talking to companies or corporations about the magnificence of our healthcare plans offered through longevity and DAC. And I've been overwhelmed with those questions. I spend so much of my time daily having very beneficial and fruitful conversations with people. And it's fascinating to me how quickly heads are turning in our direction and people are becoming aware that, in fact, we are not like, I don't know if you remember the television program. If you're old enough, you'll know what I'm talking about. Do you remember the show Sesame Street? How many of you remember Sesame Street? Raise your hands if you remember Sesame Street. Perfect. That's a lot of hands going up. Do you remember the little thing? It usually was a box, with a grid in the middle, and it had, 4 squares. And then they would sing a song, and it would go, one of these things is not like the other. Which one is it? Can you tell? And I know I don't have a great singing voice. That's okay. You get the point. And you were supposed to identify that thing that wasn't like the other. Well, could you imagine pulling up to an intersection? You need gas, and there's a gas station on all 4 corners. And you see, for example, $3.09 and $3.12 and $3.07 on 3 corners for gas. The same gas, just regular unleaded. And then on another corner, you see regular unleaded for $1.29. What do? I mean, it's like, there's the song, right? One of these things is not like the other. Can we tell which one it is? When it's obvious, it's like, that's what gets people's attention. And to me, the reason why I'm reaching out to all of you today is because it's glaringly obvious that one of these things is not like the other as well when it comes to the topic of healthcare benefits. So I want to point out the obvious in a PowerPoint. I'm going to speak to this off the cuff and just as very from the heart and matter-of-factly as I possibly can. And I want you to just notice how smooth this topic flows and where it goes, and how I believe that if you'll take this information and apply it to you and your social circle, your circle of influence, whether it's individuals or groups of people that have influence over others, this will be one of those things that you could be really, really successful at in your life. And there's no better time than right now. So let's go ahead and do this screen share here. I'm going to push a couple buttons. We'll get right to it. And here we go. All right, so here's what we all should and need to know about healthcare. And some of these things are very obvious. When it comes to healthcare, let's start with something that's more important than none other, and that would be your very own human being body. So you occupy one of those, and when it comes to your body, shouldn't think about anything other than everything in your power to take good care of that machine. After all, no matter how great we as the human race have done at developing. Think about the concept of flying a jumbo jet airplane with 300 or 400 people on board that weighs who knows how many pounds. How do you really get that thing off the ground and fly it from, say, the United States all the way to New Zealand? How do you do that? I mean, it's magnificent what we've created, over the last couple hundred years. It's insane. Now, when it comes to caring for your body, it's pretty obvious that we should do things like eat nutritious foods. We should be as flexible as possible. We should be stretching, because as we get older, we start to atrophy, our bones get more, fragile, and flexibility will take you down the road a whole lot longer. Breathing clean air is important. Sometimes we're in environments where we don't pay attention to the air we're breathing, and little do we know how important that is. Drinking pure water is vitally important. If you could have unclean water versus pure water, of course you would do that. Think about it. Drink pure water. Your body is mostly water anyways. Getting deep sleep is super important. I know I'm guilty of this one. Sometimes I'm like, I'll sleep later, or I'll sleep when I die. You've heard that one. I raise my hand. I've said that many times over. It's really important to get good, solid sleep. You perform much better when you do. And activating our muscles, resistance training, really great idea. Use those muscles. It will protect your infrastructure and your skeletal structural system. Avoiding stress, really, really valuable. Super key thing. You can stay away from stress, the thing that makes your blood pressure go up and your heart beat faster, and for you to get red-faced. All those things are really important to minimize stress. Laughing. You've heard laughter is the best medicine on the planet. We all know how good it feels to laugh. You know that deep belly laugh, it takes way more muscles in your face to frown and to scowl than it does to smile and to be happy and to be wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. So laughing is key. Having great hygiene, keep ourselves clean, especially now. You hear it left and right. Wash your hands, keep clean, be cognizant of the things that we touch. Really important to have great hygiene. And of course, supplementing well. There's just no debate today that we just don't get the nutritional value out of all of the foods that we think are so healthy. So supplementing is a really key thing. That's what you should know about health, just for starters. The big question, however, still lurks in the background. What really happens when I need medical care and attention? The unforeseen circumstance. You're riding your bike, you fall off, you split your head open. No doubt you need stitches. There's not anything other on the planet that will heal that head cracked open, then go into a good doc and getting some stitches put in after it gets cleaned out. You break your arm playing basketball. Happened to my son just a couple months ago. You got to go get medical care. So what do you do when that happens? Well, what everyone wants to know is, okay, I need help right now. Where do I go? Who do I have access to? What are my options? Is it going to be convenient? And certainly, is this going to cost me a bloody fortune, or is it going to fit inside my budget somewhere? These are the top things that people consider when it comes to traditional healthcare. Well, here's the challenge on this same topic. When you need traditional care, the challenge is always lurking. Oh my word, I'm just so sick of these insurance premiums. They're unaffordable. How do I even begin to imagine myself having healthcare when I don't even think it's affordable and it's not going to fit in my budget? Crazy thought. Deductibles. How about that topic? Deductibles for the most part are designed to keep all of us paying 100% of our healthcare expenses out of pocket, so that we're not even dipping into all the money that we pay in our premiums into those pools that are supposed to cover some portion for us. That's what deductibles are all about. They're too high. Most people cannot afford their deductibles. Healthcare costs across the board are skyrocketing off the charts in Pluto. Confusion is overwhelming. Nobody knows what to do. We talk to each other and they're like, I don't know what to do. Do you know what to do? No, I'm not sure. And when we throw stuff out, it's underwhelming at best. Tens of millions of people just in the United States alone are without healthcare coverage or adequate coverage, period. Well, here's the facts. The things you want to know about what is available. This topic we're talking about right now, it is a full liability and partially self-funded co-insurance health benefits plan. Huge to know that. That's a big deal. And it's also an ERISA. And here's how I liken it. There's two sandboxes. You've got the regular insurance commission sandbox, and then you have the ERISA sandbox. Inside the ERISA sandbox, which by the way is an acronym, it stands for the Employee Retirement Income Security Act. And just to be clear, it is regulated and all the guidelines fall under the direction of the federal government. And this program has been in place since about 1974. So that's about 46 years of experience. Big deal. Other things that people want to know is, hey, with what we're talking about here, is this ACA compliant? You know, the Affordable Care Act that was put into place years ago under the Obama administration. Yeah, this is ACA compliant. It still is necessary for groups of people with 50 or more. We meet that. And all the tax codes, when people say, you know, your CPA or your accountant asks you every year, do you have a healthcare plan? You can say yes, and there is no chance of any financial disposition due to not having the appropriate coverage. This is for individuals, it's for families, it's for group plans, and it also includes the topic of catastrophic programs. We don't nickel and dime either. And that means that when we talk about healthcare, we're also inferring the coverage and topics of dental and vision and pharmacy. That's right, prescriptive drugs, RX, etc. And you can go in and have preventative wellness checks also during the year, which is also nice. Just make sure if it's classified as a wellness check, and we have it highlighted there for you, that it means there's no symptoms. So these checkups are included at no extra charge when we're talking about the plans that we offer through Longevity and DAC Healthcare. How about this? It's an inopportune time. Things are closed, you're in an inconvenient location, you don't have quick access to get to a doctor or a healthcare provider or an ER. Wouldn't it be nice if you had 24 access to healthcare providers and professionals that could hear your situation, maybe even FaceTime or live stream with you and look at you in the eyeballs, make sure you're okay, ask you some questions. You can show them something if something needs to be shown. That's pretty cool stuff. All of those things are available. Those are some of our facts as we talk about this. We have a much better plan. Let's be clear, it's a much better plan. One of these things is not like the other. Introducing, guys, DAChealthcare.com. That's right, available straight through Longevity, straight through David Allen Capital. DAC is a subsidiary and the services division of Longevity. Every single person that belongs to the group of Longevity, you have access right now to DAChealthcare.com. Stick with me and I'll show you how to access this. Please don't go to this link right now. Please don't jump ahead. Stay in the moment. You'll have plenty of time to go perusing and looking at these links, but you'll miss out if you don't stay with me. So when we say introducing DAChealthcare.com, here's your alternative. I mean, again, you're at the intersection. Three other corners of that intersection have something very similar, which is underwhelming. And then all of a sudden you see, here's the thing that doesn't look like everybody else, and it's called the alternative. That's why it's the alternative, because you don't have to go to those other places. It's the alternative. Typically, here's the good news. Typically, we're a much lower monthly rate than what people are used to. You know, it's fascinating to me that some people just choose to spend more money even when you don't have to spend so much money. I don't know if it's a bragging right thing. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but it's a thing. And we just want you to know that you don't have to be subjected to spending as much money as you think you do. Typically, we're lower. Oftentimes, it's not unusual that we're 20 to 40% and sometimes more less expensive. We don't have any deductibles. You know, most companies do have those, where those are put in place as a stopgap to protect the insurance companies and to make sure that you're paying a majority of your healthcare costs. We don't have any deductibles, and in plain English, that means that you have first dollar benefits and first dollar coverage the very first time you need to go to a specialist or a healthcare provider or an urgent care center. And I love the fact that people say, well, what about this? I've had this challenge or that challenge, and this is on my medical record. Am I automatically exempt because I have history? The answer is no. We have a different level of gauging that. No pre-existing conditions exclusions. How about this? No open enrollment constraints. I love this one. Traditionally, when people are looking for healthcare, they go through a broker, they go through an agent, some kind of a provider, and they'll have access to healthcare once a year. It's called open enrollment. And in my mind, this is just in as simple terms as I can put it. Here's the image I have in my hand. It's kind of like a funnel. If they give you a little window to jump through, then guess what? That's your only option, is to jump through that little window. But here's the whole year. you don't have the right to engage into healthcare throughout the whole year. It's got to be in this little window. So here's the issue: fear-based moving, fear-based driving people and traffic into healthcare one time per year in that little window. People are like, oh my goodness, it's almost November 1st, for example. And if I don't get my healthcare right now, I've got to wait a whole nother year to come back around. Two issues with that. The consequence is so great for people, they jump through that hoop because the pain of missing out for a whole year is substantial. And secondly, the problem it causes for companies that are brokering those services, they're bored for the rest of the year when open enrollment is not in session. Not anymore. There's plenty to do. More on that later. Well, you ever heard of a little company called Verizon? Verizon has arguably more towers than everybody else. They put up their map and it shows all the red and how all other cell phone carriers are inferior, and such that the rest of them have to even rent or lease space on the towers from Verizon because they've got it going on. That's what I liken it to with our PPO network, PHCS. This is the largest network in the nation. So one of those questions earlier that was on one of the first slides, I asked the three big questions. Who do I have access to? Is it convenient? And can I afford it? Those are the big three. And we're answering all three of those questions with these 6 bullets right here. Largest network in the nation, PHCS, private healthcare systems, and the best chance you've got of finding the doctor, the healthcare provider, the hospitals, et cetera, are going to be on that network. Just like Verizon. Less chance of dropping calls, we have the most chance that your favorite people will be on a list. I love that, don't you? You know, another company that comes to mind when I think about what we're offering is Southwest Airlines. Those guys have it going on. Why do they typically, not always, they just typically have lesser costly fares than other airlines? Now let's see, is it because they're flying junky aircraft? No. Definitely not. You can look at their fleet and arguably they have some of the prettiest, most beautiful, newer machines on the tarmac. Is it because they have boring, lazy employees and staff that really don't have fun with people and know what they're doing? Oh no. There was a book put out by the founders of that company called Nuts. It's a great book. And their people know how to have fun. They know how to deliver the highest quality services at the lowest cost, and they make their money on volume. I'd say we do similarly the same thing. Are we providing lesser services? No, in my mind, we're providing more and greater value, just choosing not to charge exorbitant fees. How about this last one here? No medical underwriting with the catastrophic program. That's a pretty big deal too. So we look at it this way. We offer base level plans as well as catastrophic plans. And we don't marry those things together and force people to put those together because some people, quite frankly, don't want them. And they choose to not pay for the moon when they believe that having their own backyard is good enough. Those are options and choices we give people, and that's the alternative. So here's the solution. Overall, when we look at this, how does this come all together? Well, we should all recognize that there are 4 things. Here they are, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first thing that people do with their money, they've got to have a place to live. They will not be stuck without a roof over their head if they can help it. That's the number 1 priority for all humankind. Number 2 is transportation. We believe that transportation is vital and that it's easier to transport ourselves from where we are to where we want to be physically with 4 wheels that have a motor powering that. So transportation is pretty key. Third is our technology, Wi-Fi, cell phones, smartphones, things like that. We all believe that it's really not possible to do life and it's really not possible to do business and enjoy each other without good technology and those smartphones. That's number 3. You know what number 4 is on the list of priorities? Healthcare. Healthcare is number 4. So when you make a list of priorities that people want more than anything, healthcare is in the top 5. And it falls at number 4. So at number 4, what does it mean? It means that if people had a way to put it on their list of priorities and afford it, they would do it. And the only reason they don't have it isn't because it's not a priority. They don't believe, they just don't know where the money's going to come from to put it onto their list of priorities and check that box. So you've already read all these bullets. It is the most consistent recurring order that we can provide people because we don't offer houses. We don't sell cell phones. We don't sell cars. We provide healthcare services. So that's why we're talking about that. And if you want repetition, meaning you've got clients, you've got customers, once you put them on healthcare, it is the most logical auto recurring order that is going to be, because it won't go away. It's less likely for it to go away than other things that could go away. So you want to promote this as much as you possibly can. How do you do this? How do you get started? Well, ultimately, don't do it now. You're going to go to the website, dichealthcare.com/your ID number. Now, I know there's some people on here, and this is the first time they're ever hearing about this topic. All you'll have to do, whoever invited you here, is just talk to them and say, what's up with that ID? Don't worry, you can have one and it costs you nothing. You can get an ID number. It's just simply becoming a member of the co-op. Everyone has to be a member of the co-op. You do that through DAC, and they'll tell you how to get your own ID number, and you'll put that on the back side of that little domain there, dachealthcare.com, and then have fun. You'll be in the website, you start comparing plans. What do you compare? You're gonna choose whether you're a member plus one, or a member plus a family. So that's how our plans are broken down, and they will be priced based on 2 age brackets, 18 to 49, and then 50 to 64. Okay, well, what about people that are 65? Well, you're on Medicare at 65, so this would not apply to you. Medicare takes over, and you would be making a switch at that time. So now you know who this is for. Listen, I want to share a statistic with you. Here it is. I've shared some statistics. Here's another one. If you take our entire population right now up to the age of 65, it's estimated, strongly estimated, that out of that population, about 95% of those people are only spending $7,000 to $8,000 per year on medical claims. Now, folks, relatively speaking, that's not that much, especially when you think about how people are paying as if every single month and all year long, we're going to have hundreds of thousands, if not $1 million a year of healthcare claims. The likelihood of that? Not likely. Could it happen? It could happen. You're paying for it as if it's always happening, when in reality, it only happens sometimes or once in a while in our entire lives. Not for me to decide, just saying. Look at the last bullet there. You have the right, once you have a freedom plan, and not until you have a freedom plan. If you have a freedom plan, you are welcome to add the ASH catastrophic plan for the ultimate peace of mind, with coverage starting at $150, $250, or $500,000 for who? Per family member per year. That's right, per family member per year. Now, another thing I want to denote here. This isn't like black and white. It's not an exact percentage. It's a rough calculation. You will see as you explore our rates, like ceilings and coverages, et cetera, which we're not going to talk about on today's phone call, not going to get into the details of every single plan. You can do that with the person who invited you onto this call and review all that. Just note that when we talk about coverage like this, the 150, 250, or 500,000, one of the benefits we have is we've gone out and pre-negotiated with all of our providers. So when you've got, for example, and this is a roundabout, it's not exact, so please hear that. It's not exact, it's approximately, and we love to under-promise and over-deliver. That's one of our mottos. So on that note, when you see the coverage here, we've gone out and negotiated. So the hospital billing code on these numbers that you see has about a 2x factor on it. So what I'm really saying is that whatever we're billed at, one of our benefits in the company is that our rates are approximately 50% less than the rate to the rest of the world. So when we have a coverage of 150, that's really covering up to about 300,000. 250 is really covering up to about 500,000, and 500,000 is really valued with hospital billing codes at somewhere around $1 million per family member per year. Folks, that's big time stuff right there. It's really good. And so everything that happens in that other sandbox I described you, our objective, if it's in our power, is to do exactly the opposite. This is one of those things where we do want to one-up. We're not looking to put anybody down. We don't have to talk about others. It's just if you're making a comparison, we're looking everywhere we can to one-up the alternatives that are out there. And these are our solutions. We're getting close to the end here, folks. And I just want you to know, some of you are very interested in this topic right here. Some of you are on here because you're like, oh my word, this is great timing. I want to save and be prudent on my household budget, or I work for a company. We're a little nervous right now. We're looking to scale back and to cut back where we can. And one of the obvious places you can look to scale back or cut back, in fact, is inside your own company, your employer. Did you know that your employer may very well look at you as a hero if you came along and saved the bottom line to the company 20%, 30%, maybe even 50%. That's possible. And if you don't think that saving them any percentage in that window or any percentage period would be of tremendous value to them, you'd have to be kidding right now. These CEOs, these employer groups, they're looking more than ever at how to be smart, wise, and prudent. Likewise, we, with teams in your longevity organization, how many households do you think right now are going, where would it be wise or prudent for me to cut back, save money, and be a little bit, on everybody, let me all that out. Hold on. Sorry about that. Had to leave my screen share to get to the mute all button. So we'll go back. Don't worry. And hold on. All right. So what we were talking about is getting paid. And getting paid is really important to a lot of people. Hold on. There we go. Okay. So getting paid is really important to a lot of people. Never before, in most of our lifetimes, never before, to clarify, have we been at a point where there is like this mass unified agreement that it makes more sense than ever to have a home-based business. I mean, after all, we're working from home. After all, the topic of a home-based business, some people have said in the past, I don't know if I'd ever have one of those home-based business things. Well, let me remind you that almost 100% of us are now home-based businessers. I don't think that's a technical term, but I like it. So we're all home-based business people. And here we are. And can you get paid? Yes, you can. If you want to, check this out right here. So for those of you that are new to longevity or new to David Allen Capital, here's how these plans, no matter whether somebody takes on an individual plan or they're taking on a family plan, what's going to happen is there's going to be anywhere, I put all the ranges in here possible, anywhere from as little as 60 BV up to 95 BV, or 95 QV up to 110 QV. I know that might confuse the heck out of some people right now. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter to you if it doesn't make sense right now. But for some people, it makes all the sense in the world. And this little topic right here could be worth something significant to you. And I'd be paying very close attention to it, because if you understand how quickly this could infiltrate a team of people, it would have a dramatic improvement or increase on your percentage of growth month over month with those auto ship recurring orders around the healthcare plans. You get it. More details on that later. I know today is a general broad overview. How about this? Group plans. That's right. 2 or more people, group plans. You're talking to someone, they work at a company, they open the door, they introduce you to a decision maker. Next thing you know, you're having a conversation with them and they've got 10 employees, 20 employees, 50 employees, 100 employees, who knows how many employees, but they're going, this makes all the sense in the world. Well, if you opened up that door and you brought that business to the table, to longevity and David Allen Capital, here's how that works out for you. You will receive, not just one time, ongoing, month over month over month, some number between $12 and $19, depending on their freedom plan and depending on their catastrophic plan. And if they got a catastrophic plan, there's combinations there. It wouldn't be less than 12 and it would be as much as 19. So between 12 and $19 multiplied times however many people were in that group or inside that company where they brought healthcare on board, that would be one of your residual income sources month over month over month. Now there are incredible testimonies that are on here right now, and they could speak up. I mean, like if we open this up and they hit unmute, you'd have people chirping and talking about things they have going on in the pipeline and things that are closed up. That's exciting. But this comes back to you, the enroller, to this group month over month. And if you're someone in our partnership program that sponsored that individual going, well, what about me? What about you? Is all of that turns into the first bullet, BV and QV, that goes into that commission structure, and that gets paid out everywhere, just like normal. Imagine this, folks. This is pretty exciting stuff. Let's go over to some scripting here, because some people are like, wow, could you help us with a few things to say, like, what would I say to a customer, my next door neighbor, the person I get on the phone with and chat more than anybody else right now? What could I say to that person? Here's what you can say. You, and I love this wording here, in these times, Martha, in these times, John, hey, Sarah, in these times, what are you and your family doing for healthcare? And then just be quiet and let them talk as much as they can and as much as they'd like to, and fill you in, because knowledge is power. So let them fill you in, just listen and let them talk, let them ask you questions. You don't have to be smart or a know-it-all in this case, just enjoy the moment, listen. And then when they're done, just thoughtfully, very kindly and thoughtfully say, you know what, Sarah, I am so glad you shared that with me. Any chance you've heard of DAC Healthcare? And they go, no, I don't think I've heard of them. And you say, wow, well, like so many other people, they could save you 20% or more on your monthly rates without a deductible. Sarah, have you even heard of such a thing? And Sarah's likely to say, no, are you kidding me? I can't say as though I've ever heard of something like that. How do I find out more? Where do I go? What's the next step? These are logical things in response to that, because you're wowing them. Now, I want you to notice the vernacular. We figured that if Geico, for example, would have spent who knows how much, I'm just going to use the fun terminology, a bloody fortune, on figuring out vernacular and terminology and use of words. I like to call it wordsmithing. Let's just take a lesson out of their book. What did they say? They said a 15-minute phone call, listen to this, could, keyword is could. They spent a gajillion is not formal, so this is not like a money a promise of anything, it's just a gajillion. So they spent a lot of money on figuring out how powerful the word could would be. And they found out it's pretty doggone powerful, because something comes on the front side, a 15-minute phone call. That's what came on the front side. Then they insert the word could, and then they come in and say what it could do. It could save you 15% or more. Now, on your car insurance. I love that commercial. I think it's brilliant. Over time, they put the gecko in there, and it just made people pay all the more attention. And a lot of people have started using that program. So when you're speaking, notice the vernacular. Like so many other people, they could. It doesn't say will, it doesn't say would, it doesn't say guaranteed, it doesn't say factually. It's not a promise, it's a possibility. They could save you 20% or more on your monthly rates without a deductible. Now you see how powerful that is? That's really powerful. And right now, depending on the size of someone's budget, there's nothing wrong with saving any percentage, even if it was 5, tucked to no deductible. One thing for sure, we don't have one of those. One thing for sure is it doesn't really matter what the percentage of savings is. We like to underpromise and overdeliver, and many times it's greater. So keep all that in mind, and they should be wowed at this point. And then you just plop in and just say, I'm glad that sounds interesting to you, Sarah. Say, are you okay with me introducing you to a good friend of mine? This is where you use third-party higher authority, and you leverage the concept of an expert to come along your side, because I want you to understand something. You do not need to have a license. You do not need to be a health insurance agent. So if you're wondering, wow, should I go take my test right now? Do I need to go through school? No, you don't need to do that. One of the beautiful things is that's why we allowed the license from the SBA Freedom Protect Co-op to be hung with Longevity and David Allen Capital. Folks, This is huge because the concept of a healthcare plan is actually getting picked up from David Allen Capital, which has the license to release this program out to the public. That's big. That's really big. You should know that. I think back to Verizon. They've got people, we've got people, licensed healthcare professionals, insurance agents, actuaries, as well as in-house legal counsel that can cover all these bases for you. You just have to ask, and they're there to serve you and to work with you at your need and at your disposal, kindly. So how about businesses? Check this out. What does say to business owners? It's going to look very similar. A couple of little nuances that are a shift in the conversation. Notice the same bullet on number 1. Hey, you're talking to Mrs. CEO of company XYZ, and you've gotten to that person. The door's been opened. You're talking to that person. Hey, in these times, Susan, what are you and your family doing for healthcare? And this is a really big topic right now because they're thinking, well, me and my family is exactly what we're doing with our business. And what they say about their family is alluding to how they're handling their business. So let them respond. Listen, I'm so glad you shared with me. Have you heard by chance of DAC Healthcare? Like so many other people, they could save you 20% or more on your monthly rates with no deductible. Imagine the savings and financial impact during these prudent times. And they're going to react to that. Let them speak. Just listen. Are you okay with me introducing you to a good friend of mine and getting you a quote? Getting you a quote. That's key. You'll notice that there is a quote manager on the employer side in your dachealthcare.com/your ID number website. There's a quote machine. When you go accurately put in that information, how many employees they have, what their current provider is, what's their deductible, what percentage of contribution the employer is making toward those healthcare plans, whatever's there, fill it out. The more detailed you are, take you maybe 5 to 10 minutes, hit submit. Now, most people take about 4 to 5 days traditionally to get a quote back. And for this, and for us, it comes back in under 2 minutes. We are hearing reports of people getting quotes back in 10 to 20 seconds. And that is like mind-blowing to a CEO or a small business owner that is wanting to make decisions right now, snappy. And they don't like being gotten back to. They want instant gratification, and you're going to be able to give it to them. When that happens and that quote comes back, the person who opened that door is going to get a copy of the quote, and the decision maker on the quote, that's the contact person, is going to get a copy of that quote as well. See, now you have accountability. And now, because you don't have a license and you're not a licensed insurance agent, you're not going to personally make that sale. You're going to say, now that we have a quote, would you mind if I put you on the phone with one of our top licensed individuals that's an expert at going through these quotes and making sure that all of your questions are answered? And that's what you want to do. And so that's the process. That's how you would answer or speak to a business owner. These are simple things that you can say. I wouldn't really complicate it beyond this. If you do, it's unnecessary, and it doesn't need to be any more complicated than these slides right here. So folks, I hope that this has been a lot of fun for you. And I hope that this has made a lot of sense for you. And I hope you've enjoyed learning about the DAC healthcare plans and that you'll find them useful for yourself. In my heart, I feel really good about saying to all of you, if you don't have one of these plans for you and your family, I believe you're missing out. I really do. And I also believe that with everything that's on the market right now, and knowing what I know and knowing what has been gone through and to put into place for this opportunity to even exist, I believe that you'd make almost every single head in the corporate world, whether it's a little tiny mom and pop business and there's just 2 employees, or there's 500 employees and you're talking to a fairly sizable company, or like yesterday, I heard about a company that has 12,000 employees that's excited about what we're doing. We fit all sizes. And as you can see, I think we've covered all the bases. I think we've overcome every objection. I think we've put out there every topic of question, concern, and interest that would captivate any person who's seriously or significantly looking at what we have to offer. And oh, P.S. by the way, psst, when you are the person who opens the doors and brings these people on board, never a better way for you to have ongoing residual income. I hope you heard what I was saying. So you know what? We've got to take this information and get very loud right now. This is no time for being quiet, because who knows what the future holds. What I know is right now, this topic is extremely relevant. And to wrap up this call, I've got a special friend of mine that is on this line right now. His name is Kent Huff. He owns a company up in Evergreen, and he's like a multi-decade, 30, 35 years of powerful experience in this particular niche and industry. And if anybody would have something to say about this topic from any standpoint, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, it would be him. His reputation's on the line. He handles a lot of people's money, a lot of people's choices around finance and their well-being, including the topics of healthcare programs. And Kent, I'm assuming you're on here somewhere in this sea of people. Are you there, my friend? And can you unmute your line?
I am here, Scott. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much, Kent. Just in, if it's possible, in 60 seconds to 2 minutes max, whatever comes from your heart. I know you don't have some great speech written, but I know you're on here, and I know that you could represent and have represented about anything under the sun over the years. If it's appropriate for you, and I'm not putting you too much on the spot, as a professional healthcare provider of insurance services, health benefits programs, and packages, what do you have to say about this that people would find very compelling and interesting from your standpoint?
Sure, Scott. First of all, just so the audience knows, I've been in business for 31 years, and over the years, although I have kind of a multi-faceted business, I've sold a lot of health insurance, both in the individual market and in the group market. A couple things strike me on this plan that are particularly beneficial and unique. One is that you can apply anytime. Since the Affordable Health Care Act came in, it's now been 5 or 6 years ago, I guess. If you do not have health insurance, you can only apply during open enrollment. And so there's been a lot of people that have been locked out of the market for long periods of time, waiting for that open enrollment period, which these days in Colorado is usually starting around November 1st to get an application in, and then it kicks in on January 1. So people can be locked out of the market and the very important health care they need. This plan can be applied for any time. In the individual market, as long as you get an application in by the 25th, you can have coverage effective the 1st of the following month. And then in the group market, you need to get an application in by the 20th for the 1st of the following. I really like that. People can get the coverage when they need it and not have to wait. Secondly, a comment I heard a lot about insurance, and everyone can relate to this out there. I'll ask them what they think of their insurance, and most everyone's response is, it's worthless. You know, I hate it. I pay all these high premiums and I get nothing for it. And that is indeed true, because in order to be able to afford anything these days in the market, you have to buy a bronze plan out there in the ACA market, and those are usually $6,000 to $8,000 deductible. And so you have to have a lot of out-of-pocket expenses before the plan kicks in. I love the fact that these plans kick in right away with, of course, they cover the ACA mandated preventative stuff. And then they have the co-insurance, the 50-50 co-insurance that kicks in right away. So people feel like, first of all, they're paying a lesser premium, but they also feel like, I'm getting something here. I'm getting some help. I'm having a shared arrangement on my costs. So Scott, let me go to the group plans just real quick. One of the things I love in there is this claims reserve. And I know a lot of you haven't really probably drilled down on that and don't know what I'm talking about, but Here it is in a nutshell real quick. Part of the premium for employees that are working for an employer, they're going to split it between fixed costs and claims reserve. And the fixed costs, of course, those are going to be costs, those won't come back. But the claims reserve, if the claims experience is, leaves money in the claims pot, you get that back as an employer. That is used to enhance the benefit for the employees in future years. So that's a real win-win there that I really like. So Scott, there's many other things. I know our time's limited, but those are the things that kind of strike me off the top of my head.
Ken, thank you for doing that. I know your opinion, and now knowing who you are and your background and what qualifies you to make those statements, it just adds tremendous value to what we're doing. So I appreciate the day you had me come in and talk to all your staff and show them the value of what you had, that arrow in the quiver now that you could pull out all year round and provide hope to people that didn't want to wait for open enrollment. So that's a big deal. And just one more thing, everyone, remember, if you want to be in a situation to where you and your family are covered by the 1st of next month, you must personally be enrolled no later than the 25th of this month. The 25th of this month for individuals, and it's the 20th of the month if you're enrolling a group, and there's no exceptions. If you want 1st of the next month coverage, there's no exceptions. It's a black or white issue. It's the end of business on the 20th if you're enrolling a group. It's the end of business on the 25th if you're enrolling individuals and or yourself. No exceptions. So keep all that in mind. Those are the parameters. And again, guys, thank you so much for being on here today. What a powerful group of people. The fact that all of you would come together right smack dab in the middle of a Friday afternoon says a lot about you. And we thank you so much. So on that note, I'm going to open up all the lines, just, make a lot of noise and thank everybody for being here. And we will see all of you very, very soon. And don't forget, there is, if you want to come, you don't have to come, but you can go to the dance party today. It's posted everywhere. There's an online social media dance party. I know it sounds really fun and wacky, but hey, that's part of living life. The way that we live life is we do things that are different and it's fun. So we're going to laugh. We're going to smile, we're going to get a little bit wacky, and we're going to have a great time. So on that note, have a blessed day, everybody. You're all unmuted. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Awesome.
Presentation, Scott. I appreciate you.
Can we
Good
get
job.
the slide?
Great job.
Or the PowerPoint.
Thank you.
All right.